We live. We almost live. All right, we're live. And what is up with it, everybody? Live from the studios of WIUR here at the La Penta Student Union at Iona University. It's Woolley Mammoth Wednesdays. I am your host, Cameron Woolley, bringing you the best and only the best sports on campus. So, didn't really write this one out this time, but I'm just going to wing it. I'm very good at that. So, let's just lead with the New York Giants. I guess that's sort of the formula that I've been accustomed to. Thanksgiving was terrible. I don't know how else to say it. It was terrible. And I mean, it's a demoralizing loss to a team that we still can't beat. The Giants, I don't care how good they get. I still don't think they're ever going to beat Dallas. With Dak around, I don't think they're going to beat Dallas. I know injuries. I understand that. But starting 7-2 and then missing the playoffs is still a failure of a season. I don't know how else you put it. You were in a playoff spot. You were firmly in one. And then you slipped out of it. Now, granted, there's still some time. Evan Neal, Daniel Bellinger, and Azeez Ojulari could very well be back on Sunday against Washington. I'm just going to look for this injury report here. And I'll find out soon. Haven't seen much yet on the injury front. Just gonna look this up in practice. Art Stapleton posted it. Daniel Bellinger limited. Evan Neal full participant. And looking for Azeez Ojulari. He isn't even on the injury report. No, he is apparently still on IR, or I don't know, don't hold me to it, but Evan Neal and Daniel Bellinger possibly coming back would be a massive, massive boost to this offense, because this offense is different with Evan Neal and Daniel Bellinger on it. There's really no other way to put it. The Giants were 6-1 with Neal and Bellinger, and they were playing great football against some solid teams. And if Neal and Bellinger are back for the stretch run against some really tough opponents, that would change everything. That honestly would absolutely change everything. Adoree Jackson being out, that is a horrible inconvenience, to say the least. He was number one corner. He was doing a really good job against opposing number one receivers, and it made this defense work. And now that Jackson is down, the defense, there's been a weakness that's been added to it. And I guess it's sort of been figured out. Also, the turnovers. If you're going to play really close games, you can't turn the ball over. And that's exactly what the Giants have been doing. I said on the last episode on here that Detroit is a game you got to win. They didn't win. Brian Daboll, for as much credit as I've given him for how good of a job he is doing, putting Adoree Jackson as your punt returner is a terrible idea. You're better off just putting some scrub practice squad receiver out there to just fair catch everything, and not putting your number one corner out there and risking injury to a premium position. And that injury has now cost the Giants possibly a couple of games. And it's going to be a factor going down the road, especially in the stretch run. 2 games against Washington, 2 games against Philadelphia, a game against Minnesota. The toughest remaining schedule in the NFL by opponent strength, by opponent win percentage. The hardest remaining schedule by a wide margin is the Giants. And they got to go out there and they got to play their best ball. And if Evan Neal and Daniel Bellinger are back, then absolutely it would help a lot, because this offense would be back to kind of close to what it was, although Wan'Dale Robinson tearing his ACL is a really, really big hamper to that. Another point as to why the MetLife Stadium turf is the worst in the league. I don't know, maybe behind FedEx Field. But fortunately, apparently the turf is going to be changed soon. So maybe something comes out of that. I really don't have much on the football front. I want to get to, hockey, and surprisingly enough, soccer. The World Cup has been absolutely mind-boggling. I just got back from a watch party with a lot of Mexican fans, and we had the Mexico Saudi Arabia game on one TV, and then the Argentina Poland game on the other TV. So everyone's just watching both games. They're like chameleons. They can like split their eyes apart and look at two things at once. And it's just really fun. I want to get to that. But first, let's talk about the New Jersey Devils. Again, still riding high. Their win streak was unfortunately broken at the behest of the NHL and Gary Bettman's never-ending grudge against New Jersey for being a perpetual thorn in the league's side ever since the mid-90s, when they were this close to moving the Devils to Nashville, and then they just got too dang good. But the Devils, as of right now, sit at 19-4-0, 8 points ahead of the New York Islanders in the Metropolitan Division, tied for the best record in the Eastern Conference, only behind the Boston Bruins, and also tied for first in the NHL, once again, only sitting behind the Boston Bruins, who have a game in hand. So overall, I don't know what else to really say about the Devils that I haven't said before. They looked great. Big game on Monday night against the Rangers at Madison Square Garden. Usual house of horrors for New Jersey. And the Rangers came out looking great. I will say, the Rangers came out swinging. And 2-0 quick on a couple of goals by Panarin and Zibanejad. I was thinking to myself, it's like, oh, great, here we go again at the Garden. Bad thoughts rushing in. And then Tomas Tatar and Yegor Sharangovich, they scored to tie it at the end of the first. And then a really nice goal by Jack Hughes on a really nice flip pass, like a nice alley-oop pass from Dawson Mercer. And then a goal from Michael McLeod put the Devils up 4-2. Rangers score a power play goal in the third with around 6 minutes left. That's Vincent Trocheck, who scored for the Rangers on the power play. And the Rangers were on the power play a lot in the third period. That's really their strength as a team. And I've been saying it for a while. The Rangers' power play and goaltending masked a lot of flaws at 5-on-5. So I still think they're a good team. I still think they're a playoff caliber team. They're not this bad. The Rangers are not going to be playing this bad the rest of the way. That is objectively false. They're going to make moves at the deadline. They'll make the team exponentially better. Who knows? There have been rumblings of Patrick Kane. If Patrick Kane goes to the Rangers, that would be amazing for them. It'd be terrible for me, but amazing for them. And Shesterkin, to put it plainly, hasn't been his Vezina, his historic self that he was last year. And I tried saying, hey, you're not going to get this out of Shesterkin again. You're just not. You're not getting this out of the power play again. You're not getting this out of Kreider. You're not getting this out of a lot of different keys to the Rangers' success in the 2021-22 season that saw them win over 50 games and make it to the Eastern Conference Final and run roughshod with the Tampa Bay Lightning. But you're not getting this. You're not getting the same level of production because it was an outlier, and now the Rangers are sort of regressing to the mean. Now, there are still 60 games left. The Rangers still have 59 games left on their schedule, and the Devils also still have 59 games left on their schedule. Could both teams easily flip? Yes. But With the Devils, it doesn't look like it's happening because all of the advanced metrics on the planet back up this team being a wagon. Like seriously, I want to look at the player stats on the Devils real quick. Jack Hughes, 12 goals and 26 points in 23 games to lead the team, or actually tied for the scoring lead with Jesper Bratt, who has 8 goals and 18 assists for 26 points in 23 games. Jesper Bratt, by the way, is the best player in the NHL, if you haven't known. Nico Hischier, 25 points in 22 games, 10 of those points being goals. So that is 3 point per game players on your offense who are under the ages of 25 years old. And with 2 of them locked up to long-term extensions, with Jesper Bratt being on pace to re-sign with the team. So one thing in common that I've seen with these cup teams, like these teams that have gone on to win Stanley Cups and be sustained contenders for a long time, they have had a good couple of forwards that are stars. They have star power up front that was homegrown. It's usually 3 players. Sometimes it's 2. Like the Penguins, they just had Crosby and Malkin. But going back to last year, Colorado, they had McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog. Those guys are all 3 homegrown, star power up front. The Tampa Bay Lightning, Steven Stamkos, Braden Point, and Nikita Kucherov. All 3 guys drafted by the team and are star power up front. Thinking about the Washington Capitals around a year before. Their star power up front. 3 homegrown guys. Alex Ovechkin, Nick Backstrom, and Evgeny Kuznetsov. 3 studs up front. The Blues, they didn't really have a lot of homegrown guys. That team was an outlier. But again, the Penguins up front, Crosby and Malkin. Going back even further, the Blackhawks, they had Taves and Kane. Even going back even further, the Detroit Red Wings, Datsuk and Zetterberg. That's not even to mention other guys who I'm probably forgetting, who were drafted by the Red Wings. And even then, back then, Steve Yzerman, he was homegrown by the Red Wings. So the Devils have that group of forwards there, not to mention the great supporting cast of defense. Dougie Hamilton, Jonas Siegenthaler, John Marino, who's a little banged up right now, Ryan Graves, and coming up, Luke Hughes and Simone Nemec. So these guys are going to be really good. Also, Vitek Vanacek. Just want to pull up his numbers right here. 2.12 goals against average, although that's more of a team stat, with a .923 save percentage, which is good enough each for top 10 in the NHL. Vitek Vanacek has been a great goaltender. And his backup, Akira Schmid, has a 1.24 goals against with a .953 save percentage, which I know is unsustainable. But for a backup, if he keeps up numbers even remotely close to those, we're good. And this brings up another point of contention for New Jersey. Mackenzie Blackwood comes back. What do you do? Ask yourselves that. What do you do when Mackenzie Blackwood comes back? Because, in my opinion, I think you dump him to the curb. Mackenzie Blackwood is not good and hasn't been good for a couple of years. Sure, Blackwood, his first 2-3 years in the league, he showed promise. But then he got COVID in the 2021 season. And things got weird for Mackenzie Blackwood. Things just got really, really weird. And if Vitek Vanacek and Akira Schmid keep playing the way they have been playing, I don't see any justifiable way for Mackenzie Blackwood to take over Akira Schmid's spot as the backup goaltender. And I don't want him splitting starts with Vanacek either. Vanacek has been amazing. There's no way you can let Blackwood back onto this team. No way. Unfortunately, the Devils have been dealing with an injury as well. Nate Bastian hurt, I think, his shoulder. I'm assuming he's going to be out for a while. Although fourth line forward is a fourth line forward, it's a wash. They brought Alex Holtz back up, who, as much as I hate to say it, he doesn't fit the mold of this team. I love Holtz as a prospect. I think he has one of the best shots on the team, but he doesn't play at this team's pace. This team's main strength and their identity is their speed. It is their ability to with on all four lines to outpace anyone and skate everyone into the ground. Because this team doesn't rely on physicality. They don't rely on headstrong defense, although the defense has been outstanding. Utterly outstanding, the defense. But that's not part of their game. Their main identity is speed, high tempo, although high tempo and speed could be sort of meshed into one, and their ability to generate opportunities in transition. Now, stopping teams in the neutral zone and then going and then an outlet pass up to a forward and going back the other way and then turning on the jets to get a 3-on-2 going back. And then the puck control. Oh my God, the puck control on this team. Just the way they control the puck, the way they move it around, the way they skate. They tire teams out. But as the game goes on, like in the first period, the Devils will be played a little tough. And then teams will get tired. The game goes on. The Devils, they don't slow down. And meanwhile, the other team, they're gasping for air, trying to catch their breath when the Devils are still running at super high octane. And then all of a sudden, that's when the goals come in. And it's a floodgate. I've seen so many games. It's like the game against Montreal a couple weeks ago where the Habs had a couple of chances, but John Marino and Vitek Vanacek made a few really nice plays and nice saves. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that was their chance. I'm like, you can't let this team, like when you have an opportunity early, you got to cash in. You got to go up early. And to the Rangers' credit, that's what they did. They found opportunities early and they scored a couple of goals. But then as the game went on, they wore down and then the Devils didn't slow down. They ended up getting dominated. They were dominated for a good 40 minutes. 40 minutes of that game were controlled by the Devils. And 4 unanswered goals. Sure, the Rangers get on a few power plays and they bring it to within 1, but Sharangovich scores the empty netter. And still a win is a win. And again, it's not like the Devils are barely winning these games. It's not like they're barely winning. They are outright dominating really good teams. Like against Edmonton, like last week, game against Edmonton to win their 13th in a row, you beat them 5-2. Again, another game where the Oilers came out a bit early. The Devils were called, on the ropes a bit, and then the speed kicked on, and then they scored in bunches. Again, I've said this before. This team scores in bunches. Like once they start rolling, they don't stop. For a while, they don't stop. And honestly, I'm ready to say it. This is the best Devils team I've ever seen. I have never seen a team dominate like this. Or the Devils, at least. I have never seen a Devils team that goes out and dominates like this. On every front, they outplay teams offensively. They outplay them defensively. And most of the time, Vanacek is the better goalie than the other side. So, am I wrong for saying it? I mean, it's sort of common knowledge at this point, but the Devils they're great. They're a great team. And I sincerely hope that more media figures in this area give them the recognition that they deserve because honestly, out of all the teams in the tri-state area, I don't see any team performing at the level that the Devils are playing on right now. Honestly, like who else? Who? The Yankees? No. The Giants, Jets, Bills. No team is playing at no team is dominating game in and game out like the Devils have been the first 2 months of the year. They lead a very tough division by a wide margin. They're firmly in a playoff spot right now. And sure, there are going to be points where this team is going to, just sway a little, and I'm going to sound off about how it's over. But the reality is, this team is good, and they're going to be good for a very long time. It was all about do it for my little spiel on the Devils. So let's talk some World Cup. No, I'm not much of a soccer guy. I'm like most Americans. I don't really care that much about soccer. But I'll say, man, this World Cup, and especially the way the U.S., my God, it's fun. I forgot how exciting it is to see the U.S. in the World Cup. It's like every game, every morning, there's some crazy thing that happens. Like today, like I said, I was at basically a Mexican watch party where unfortunately for Mexico, they didn't advance. They needed a lot to go right for them to advance. But like things barely just didn't work for Mexico and they got grouped. But yesterday at the business school in the lobby over there, they had a US watch party. And then granted, I was in class for the first half, but the second half, I went down there and there were like 50 people who were just losing it. And it was so fun. And the US like had to win that game to advance to the knockout stages. And to our credit, we did. And I'll say, Christian Pulisic, rarely never have we been able to say that the US has a legitimately really, really good soccer player, but Christian Pulisic is the greatest soccer player this country has ever produced. Hands down the greatest. And in terms of teams, this is the best group of players the U.S. men's national team has ever had. Like the midfield, like gone are the days of pretending that Michael Bradley is a game changer. Like we have a legit midfield now. We have Reyna when he plays. By the way, I'm sick of Greg Berhalter. I'm going to say that right now. I saw on social media everybody hated Berhalter during the qualifiers. Everybody hated Berhalter during like any form of international competition. And I was like trying to understand why. But after watching like around 4.5 hours worth of American soccer, I completely understand why, because I don't see any valid excuse to have Reyna on the roster, your second best player, and to not use him. So that's my little rant on Berhalter. I'm not going to go too hard on the negatives on this team because, they've played great. Again, midfield, young guys. Weston McKennie. Tyler Adams has been otherworldly in this tournament. That game against England, Tyler Adams had maybe the best game for a midfielder in American history. Tim Weah has been a really, really good forward. He's generated some decent opportunities. And while this team is lacking a striker, like I see one weakness roster-wise on the US team. I think they could get better on defense. I think they could. I don't want any MLS players back there, even though Walker Zimmerman basically saved the entire tournament. His penalty in the game against Wales nearly cost us. But then, again, big weakness on this team. I don't think they have a finisher. Their set pieces have been abhorrently bad. I think they should have someone else taking corners. Meanwhile, like I love Christian Pulisic, but I don't think he should be taking corners. I think he's better served in the general area where the shooting happens. Again, I don't know that much about soccer, but I do think that Pulisic is better served in that area. I do think someone else should be taking those shots or taking corners. As for goalkeeping, I mean Matt Turner. 0 goals allowed in open play. Matt Turner, by the way, and I know everybody on campus has seen this. Everybody has seen the gaff at Mazzella Field against Iona, where Matt Turner, he played for Fairfield, and the ball bounced off the crossbar and it went through his hands and into the goal. I know the goal that I walk by every day when I go to class. But it's great to see him bounce back, and he's been having himself a World Cup. Like, my goodness, he's been having himself an incredible tournament. Incredible. Our guy should mention Yunus Musa. He's been great. He's also only 20 years old. All of these guys are super young. Super young. So in 2026, when we're hosting, and we have a few other guys who come up who are really young, and our older players who are on the team right now, when they get more recognition in Europe, and it's starting to happen. There are guys who are coming in and making offers for Christian Pulisic and Tyler Adams and Yunus Musa and Tim Weah and Tim Ream, who's been having himself a tournament. I'm just overall I cannot believe that I'm seeing this out of U.S. soccer. And it's incredible. It's honestly incredible. Saturday at 10, they go up against the Netherlands in the round of 16. Don't hate our chances, but I don't like them either. Honestly, because Berhalter, for one. Like if we play the way we played against England, if the US plays the way they played against England, they have a really good shot at this, because that game against England was captivating. Even though it ended in a draw, easily could have ended in a US win. Easily could have ended in a US win. There was that cross to McKennie that went off his foot at the wrong angle. There was that there were a couple more chances, can't really name them off the top of my head, but the US outplayed England. That is a huge deal. England is the 4th ranked team in the world by FIFA, and the US drew them while outplaying them. And that draw against England ended up proving very pivotal to us advancing past Iran on that heart attack game yesterday. My goodness. I don't know why they parked for the end of that game. That game could have easily been 2-3-0 if they just kept playing the way they played in the first half. And I cannot wait until this team gets a different coach. Like, when this team gets a coach that plays to their strength, this team could make a lot of noise in 2026. A lot of noise in 2026 and in the future. Because the development, it's getting better. Things around here for soccer are getting better. And they will only continue getting better as new generations of kids keep coming up. Like, there's some 15-year-old right now who I've never heard of, who's going to be on the World Cup roster for the U.S. in 2026, who's going to be a big contributor. And I'm excited for it. I am very much excited for it. And not for nothing, we're not on a super hard side of the bracket. Although, actually, whoa, wait a second. Yeah, never mind what I just said. Apparently, if we beat the Netherlands, Probably waiting for us in the quarterfinals is going to be Argentina, who is probably going to just softly dispose of Australia. Although, again, the way they played England, they can play against anybody. They can play anybody. And that's no exception with Argentina. With Argentina, they should have won like 5-0 today. Just that Polish keeper who stopped like 5 surefire shots, including a penalty kick from Messi. Which I don't care how old he is. Stopping that is still incredibly hard. So, yeah, World Cup. I mean, it's so crazy. Again, Saturday, USA against the Netherlands, Argentina against Australia. Chances are it's going to be the Dutch against Argentina in the quarterfinals, which, yeah, it'll be a bummer. But, I'm happy with the way the U.S. played up to this point. I'm not going to complain. I just didn't want them to get grouped, especially in a group with Wales and Iran. Like, the way Wales played against England and Iran, it makes that draw against them look so much worse. But Sunday, it'll be France against whoever is second in Group C and England against Senegal. Probably going to see France against England in the quarterfinals, which that would be nuts. Want to talk about historical context. And I still have yet to see who else is going to make it through the round of 16. But those are the matchups that we know right now. I mean, it will be very exciting to watch. Overall, the buzz of the World Cup. I love the World Cup. Every 4 years it comes around, it's always super. Like, I'm glued to it. I am absolutely glued to it. And the fact that the U.S. is playing the way they're playing, it just makes just the energy around here it's one of a kind, truly. Like, because despite like all of the political division in this country, the fact that everybody can be brought together, like bringing Americans together is a really hard thing to do nowadays. And the World Cup did it. Like, I haven't seen a lot of political disagreements as of late on the internet because of this World Cup. Like, everyone, like the entire attention of this country, everyone is rallying behind this team. Everybody of every political belief is rallying behind these guys. And it's great to see. Overall, it's great to see. Anyways, that'll about do it from me here. We're running on 33 minutes, and I typically like to keep these at half an hour. So, anyways, this has been Cameron Woolley, host of Woolly Mammoth Wednesdays from the studios of WIUR at the La Penta Student Union at Iona University. Take care, fellas.